The school system is still laid back. It is, I believe. But instead of teaching people how to do comprehensions, why not teach them how to prompt? I'm not sure if it's a good idea, but at least we're teaching the kids the future of what's happening currently.
Look, if it comes to education, so again, I don't think there is a silver bullet on saying it should be one way or
Or another, yeah.
another. You have the Japanese system, which is super competitive. Kids ending up and parents ending up committing suicide because they don't manage to get the grades they expect. So, and it happens
Wow.
in Asia and in Japan in particular, but not only in Japan. And then you have the Finnish system on the other side, where in Finland, basically it's a simplification of things. You don't even have an exam. Let's put it this way. I am no expert in saying which is the best. What I can say is what I saw with my kids and what I'm seeing with my girls. When my girls transitioned to a system where they are less focused on learning a particular textbook and more open to discussions, to learning how to learn, to methodology. I do believe that they fared much better. So one of the things I was impressed in the school they attended here in Malta after 2020 was that you don't get to have a normal Parents' Day. But the Parents' Day is basically a self-assessment by the kids. They do a SWOT analysis of themselves on how they fared during the year. They need to present it to the parents, to their parents, and to the teachers, saying, well, I think I did well in French and I learned this, and this, but say in physics, I found a problem in doing this, and this. And the teacher intervenes only at the end to say where she or he disagreed with the analysis of the kids and to offer his own rendition of things.
That's really good. Because you're taking self-accountability at a young age.
It helps you in the self-assessment. It helps you in presentation skills. It helps you in not being the sort of thing. Well, you're just waiting for your teacher to say how she or he thinks you've done, but you're actually thinking, really and truly, how have I done? Was I a good student or not? How can I improve? Where is the room of or improvement? And it gives you a skill for life apart from us. So I do believe in that sort of thing where I, on the other hand, I don't believe that taking out examinations or stress from the system will actually benefit someone in particular. So there might be people who get super stressed, true. But life is about managing stress. And my concern would always be I'd rather teach someone how to manage the stress and have a system that is construed to help everyone manage that stress. It's not a sort of one size fits all, rather than saying we don't want to stress the kids. Okay, but one day they will need to cope with stress, whether it's when they go to university, whether
life
it's
stress in general,
whether when they have their first boyfriend or girlfriend, whether when they have their first job. Okay, if you've never experienced stress in your life before, okay, how will you be able to cope with it in the best way possible? So I'd rather have a system that is focused in this flexible and focus to manage stress rather than avoiding stress, because I don't think it's realistic.
I liked how you said not one size fits all, because take me, for example, I'm dyslexic. And even when the teacher used to, for example, used to get the book and she used to pick one out, and when she used to pick me, the stress level was to the roof. But I always learned, and it came across these past 2 years, that my knowledge intake increased so much with visual. What type of visual I'm taking. So if it's reading, okay, it's harder for me to understand what the lesson is all about. But if it's hearing the voice that we spoke about, if it's seeing someone speak, if it's showing what you're speaking about, that is where I learned most. So everyone has a different intake of learning. That's what I think that the problem is that not everyone is the same. And everyone's learning intake is different. And that's why the stress level is higher, because it fits for some people, and those people are the front row listeners always. So they're considered the bravi. When they sit front row, they get the high results. But what happens if you're sitting at the back? Are you considered the class clown? Are you considered the disruptor? No, everyone has his own way of learning. So that's what I'm trying to explain myself, is that if there's a system where everyone is graded based on how they can learn and what their values are, that I think is a good scholastic system. Obviously, I'm not saying that Malta's the problem. I'm not saying that,
No, no,
far from it.
what you say strikes me as correct. And again, I don't speak as a policymaker. I think that a good politician is someone who has his or her own strong points. In my case, I do think that coming from the economics background, that's my strong point. But then knowing how to surround yourself with stronger people who are policy experts in a number of areas, and while you challenge their ideas, you know that they're coming from a background that they know exactly what they're saying. So what I'm saying is not something that comes from my side as a policy expert, because I'm not a policy expert in education. It comes more from the side of a parent, of a father. And one of the things that I see is I've come to admire the American system, uh, as
Which is in a brief.
which is in a brief. Basically, you take a test. Um, it's called map testing, and each and every test is different from one person to another. It's the same subject, but your question could be question A, my question could be question B. So there's not an issue of copying or whatever. Most of the time it's multiple choice. The system has been put in, has been fed your results throughout the year by your teachers. So they know, the system knows, without an exam stress environment, how much you are able to deliver or not. And then once the result is out, which is immediately, you can actually be told, retake it, because you could have done better. You're not, you've got a C, you're a B student. Retake it. If you're a C student but got a B, they'll say you, okay, you performed much better than you've done in class during the year, because maybe you're a sort of exam freak. You're someone that takes it, more a laid back approach during the year, but then you just focus when you hear the bell. It's like a match. During training, you're a bit here and there, but then when you hear the whistle,
You're locked
you
in.
become
Locked
yeah,
in.
you're logged into that. So and I think it's in many ways quite interesting, more personalized approach
Makes
that
sense. I like it. Yeah.
that helps students perform better. And that's Jack Ma said about 10 years ago. He said this, that education systems should give more priorities, not only to what we learn today at schools, but also to the soft skills, the way in which you interact with other people. Today, if you ask me 10 years after Jack Ma said, I think 10 or 12 years ago, he said this. If I look back at what he said, I would add, I'm a firm believer in soft skills. And today I'm a firm believer in classics. I think our education system should focus on the classics, on the math, on the English, in our case on the Maltese, physics,
The basics.
the basics
Master the basics.
that you need in life, that you know them very, very well, because you will always need English, you will always need math, you will always need physics in one way or another. You will always need a basis of economics or accounts or whatever.
Numbers in general.
Or numbers in general. And then the soft skills, how to communicate. That should be the basis. It's also in many ways, I get quite a number of parents mostly whose kids are preparing to go to university, want to go to university. And I get the question, what should they study? and I understand that question.
Mentor question?
Yes.
Okay.
And I understand that question. It's a question mostly from the parents rather than the kids, that is fomented mostly by confusion. Most of the time, because of social mobility, those parents wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to university themselves. So they wouldn't, they're on the verge of a world that they don't really know.
Plus they wanted to be themselves, I think.
Probably. And they're still living in a world where you go to university to become a teacher. You go to university to become a doctor. You go to university to become a lawyer. That type of world is rapidly not changing. It's ending. It's ending. The idea that you go within an institution to become something, it isn't dead yet, but it will soon be. And my answer to most, not to most, my answer to all of them would be, it's almost irrelevant what you do for your first degree, because it will be your experience. You will learn how to research. You will see what you like and what you don't like. Let's have this conversation once you're finishing your first degree, to think what you're doing your master's in. Also because I think that as in, I was born in an era where a first degree at university was seen as being cutting edge, having a first degree from university. Nowadays, I don't think you have any cutting edge with that. I think you need to study a second degree, and not necessarily in the same subject. I think that you need to go on with continuous professional development. Even once you get into work, you need to have the courage to either stop working to study something else, or to find the time to study more, even the short courses. I think they're very, very underestimated, short courses and master classes. Most of the time they're seen as a sort of excuse to go on holiday somewhere, when they're actually some of the most interesting opportunities in life.
You're meeting like-minded people at the same time?
And even not like, so during COVID, I got a bit bored, to say the truth. And I decided to
Not alone.
do a master's degree in sports management.
Okay. It's all coming together now, from what you're saying.
Yes, but I was always interested in sport.
Okay.
And it was an area that interests me less from the physical aspect, but more from the management aspect, from the business aspect, financial and legal aspect, and so on and so forth. And it was fascinating. It was fascinating not just because of the subject, which interested me a lot, but because I saw how, first of all, what a different type of student I was to when I was a student.
And a better,
Much better, obviously. As in, I could get it in
Easier.
in an easier way. And but I learned a lot from younger people. I learned they could see things that I didn't see. I couldn't see it when I was their age, and I couldn't even see now. You know, they opened my mind to certain perspectives that I would say, you know, I can say that I learned about the subject, but I learned about learning, and I learned a lot about younger people from that point of view.
Hey, I'm Luca, and this is our clipping channel. On this channel, we're going to be sharing some of the best clips that come out of the conversations from our main channel, Champions Connect. If you want to see more clips understanding success, stories, experiences, subscribe. But if you want to see the full conversations and you want to learn the story and implement that into your life, subscribe to our main page, Champions Connect.